Uh, Hey, good afternoon, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, Results Staffing, and we are here with Raquel Boris and Dominic Vogel. Did I get that right?
Absolutely, you did.
Oh, yes.
I
All
don't
right, we
even
got a great discussion, and we're going to be right back after this. Hey, Raquel, you looked pretty good there, didn't she?
Well, not what are you saying that I look like crap now?
No, but
it's Casual Friday.
All right, Casual Friday. Hey, everybody, good afternoon, and we're going to have a great conversation with Dominic Vogel from Vancouver, Canada. All right?
Correct.
And he is in the SMB Cyber Risk. I have no clue how you even say it.
Cyber SC, my company name?
Yeah, well, I don't listen. I'm going to tell everybody I'm going to let Raquel handle a lot of this too, and I'm just going to chime in because I have no friggin' clue what this guy does. And then he's a comedian also, so I got to hear this. But this is a great Friday, so Raquel, why don't you take the show over?
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So Dominic and I met through LinkedIn, and Dominic is one of those guys where you think cybersecurity, like, why is this person engaging in my post? Or why is he reaching out? Like, because you just think like we're not in the same space at all, right? And he's just one of those people that is so encouraging and very supportive. Like, if you see, there's so many people that do posts about him because he's just constant like positivity, and he's known to always say epic. Like,
and awesome.
Awesome. Now I'm gonna say epic and awesome. Like, this is triple awesomeness or the. But I just love that about him. Like, he's just that guy that, I feel blessed to like call him a friend. And, we've had several conversations. And then obviously he's got his, red beats that he's infamous for too. Like, I love that Dominic is a perfect example of someone that is, in cyber security. It's a serious business, but he's very transparent and very, very vulnerable with his social media, very much so. So it just goes to show you that you can still be a professional, you can still be in that type of industry, but yet also at the same time, showcase yourself as who you are. And he does it does such a good job of it. Like, he's a perfect example of someone that people should follow.
Well, Raquel, before we go, before we let Dominic talk here, as I told him, I like to print out their PDF file for their LinkedIn, right? Well, I want to tell you about Dominic. A lot of trees are gone. Look at all this. My printer was going on and on and on.
Oh, not his.
I'm like, I got to make a big file. I've never had somebody. I didn't know what the heck. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to interview a guy like this? Helicopters, Tech Republic. Security blogger first. Oh my God.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I don't know any of that. I could care less about his, past experiences.
Wow. So Dominic, why don't you introduce yourself and let's see what we got here.
I'm not sure how to follow that display there, but I really appreciate both of you having me on your show. And Raquel, I made sure I rock my brand new Dodgers hat here to show my. Yeah, it's a new one. I actually did a post today. My son doesn't actually like me wearing my new hat. He likes me wearing my old dingy Dallas Cowboys hat, but because he's not here right now, I'm rocking my new hat just for the show.
Wow, I feel special that he's rocking. Well, that's another thing too about Dominic is he's like obsessed with my hat collection, because now that I've chopped my hair off, because when I had my hair longer, I looked cuter with the baseball cap. Now it's kind of different, and now that it's cold and I'm wearing the beanies. But yeah, every time I sport a cap, he's like, I haven't seen that one yet, or I'm jealous of your hat collection.
I am jealous. I only have 3 hats.
I know. I'm like, how is it that I own more caps than most dudes do? Like, there's something wrong there.
Oh my God. I call Raquel the queen. The queen.
The queen.
Well, when you're reaching out to people like Dominic, I don't know much about, and we're going to talk about what you do, but I've never interviewed someone like you, so I have no clue. I mean, I understand what cyber is, but what is it? What do you break it down to someone like me?
Break it down.
Break it down.
Well, first off, I'm glad you've interviewed no one like me. I pride myself on being very unique and an enigma, if nothing else. But to really break down cybersecurity, especially why it's important for small and mid-sized organizations, we live in an age of increased digitalization because of COVID. Companies are increasingly virtualized as well. And I always jokingly tell people, unless you're selling tacos out of the back of your mother's Volvo and all cash deals, your company is a digital company. Right? That's just the age that we live in. And if you do that, no judgment. I like tacos. But with increased digital, in an increasingly digital world, there are cyber risks that go with that. Just like there are physical, real world risks in the physical world, those same risks manifest themselves in the digital world. And small businesses, for the longest time, didn't have to worry about it. That was only if you were a big bank or big healthcare companies had to worry about cybersecurity. Now every company needs to worry about it, because even think about it this way: if your computer systems, let's say you're a 50-person company, if your computer systems go offline because of a cyber attack for a day or 2 days or 3 days, what does that mean to your bottom line? Most companies can't survive without accessing their computer systems, right? We don't use pencil and paper anymore to do business. So thinking about it that way really helps people understand that you have to invest in cybersecurity to make sure that your business not just continues, but that it grows as well.
What's the difference from web root and cybersecurity? Say like someone like me, we have our computers, we have our business, you have your software. Are you like above that? If you get what I'm saying,
Yeah. So, and that's a really good question, David. And the thing I always tell people is that a lot of people get confused with cybersecurity, thinking that it's purely just a technical thing. It's like, oh, I need to deal with my IT guy, or I need to talk to my IT service provider because cybersecurity is only technical. The technical component or the technology component is just that. It's just a component. At its root, cybersecurity, that's why I often refer to it as cyber risk management. It is a risk management discipline. When you think about the risks facing your organization, it is no different than operational risk, financial risk, personnel risk, cyber risk. As a business owner, CEO, C-suite, if you're on the board of directors, you have to provide oversight and governance in terms of managing that risk. It's not just a technical thing.
And what is like, say someone, a small business owner myself, what are you actually preventing them from? That's where I'm confused. It's like, when you say cyber attack, why would they want to go after a small business?
Good question. And so when we're talking about the reasons for investing in cybersecurity, there's two buckets I always point people to. One is to protect themselves and protect their organization against cyber criminals. Cybercrime is the #1 crime in the world. It has surpassed the drug trade as being the most profitable crime globally. Every single major criminal syndicate throughout the world invests in cybersecurity, right? They take it from a professional approach. They invest in it from a professional approach, and they realize that there's huge money to be made from it. And what we now see is that the majority of cyber attacks globally are focused on small organizations.
Wow.
Reason being is that every organization now, even the small ones, they need their data, they need their systems. But unlike the large organizations, which have spent the past 25 plus years securing their systems and securing their data, the smaller companies haven't. So it's the proverbial, like, if you think about it this way: if you are a car thief, you go into a crowded parking lot. There are those that lock their doors and have their immobilizers and you can't get in. But there's a lot of other people who just leave their doors unlocked. Those companies that are the doors unlocked, those are the small businesses that are being hit right now.
See, Raquel, I knew he could bring it down. I'm going to use that card. Well, no, now I get it, because it makes sense.
Cybersecurity for dummies.
Yeah, you should write a book on that. But Raquel, I know you got questions, so.
Well, I do have a specific question, for instance, like the whole ransom thing, right? So it was, I think, 3 years ago, maybe, the city of Baltimore got basically hijacked, right?
Yep.
And they were holding their everything for ransom. And I remember everything shut down, like closings couldn't happen. Their government and everything was like paper, you know, they had to do everything via paper. They couldn't do anything. So what do you do when people are like, crap, I got to pay this amount of ransom? Like, do you pay it to stop them, or what do you do?
Well, and that's why, you know, we see a lot of municipalities right across North America being hit by ransomware, you know, and the reason being is that many of these municipalities aren't able to. Oh, hey, buddy.
He's got a little.
There he is.
And he's rocking the red.
Yeah, he is. I thought I heard him screaming downstairs. So the reason why municipalities are being hit hard is, like many small businesses, they were underprepared to deal with cyber risk. And in the case of Baltimore there, I mean, it crippled the city. Yeah. And we've seen that with other municipalities throughout North America as well. And to your point there, Raquel, many of these organizations, they are left with no choice but to pay the ransom in order to recover. And that's why ransomware, as an example, is so profitable, because most small organizations have no choice but to pay the ransom. I often refer to ransomware as the kidnapping of the 21st century. That's pretty much what they're doing. They're kidnapping our systems.
Can you fix it? Can you, a person like yourself, once it's already happened, can someone reach out to a company like yourself? And does it help or not? They're lost at that time.
Well, yeah, so good question, David. And again, there's sort of the balance of reactive and proactive. You know, often it's easier to be brought in before the fire comes out kind of thing. But we do have what's referred to as digital forensics capabilities to be able to try and recover that data. It's not always possible. If it's not possible, then we have that conversation and say, well, either you have to recreate that data, or we're going to have to see if we can negotiate with the criminals on the ransomware payment. And that, again, that's not my specialty. We have people that we bring in and refer for that. But what I always say, it's after the fire, which is most important, right? Where we specialize is in the proactivity, making sure that you develop a very resilient cybersecurity infrastructure and program within your organization to be resilient in the face of various digital threats. And to me, it's the analogy I always give is, think of your friend or someone that you know who has a very unhealthy lifestyle. They eat cheeseburgers 3 times a day. They don't exercise, and then they have a massive heart attack. Right? If they're lucky enough to survive, there are those who realize, wow, I've been given a second chance. I need to change. But there's others who just keep going down that same path. And that's what we see with small businesses right now, is that there are those who get hit by ransomware and then realize, we got damn lucky. We need to change. We need to invest in cybersecurity. But there's others who just say, well, that's the cost of doing business.
Like, what's the chances of it happening again, right?
Exactly. You know, so it's interesting how it mirrors real life and or the physical world in that capacity.
And a stroke again. Like, I might as well, just keep doing what I'm doing.
Exactly. You know, so it's like what's so important, though, is the change of mindset. Is that organizations, and especially business owners and CEOs, especially those in small, mid-sized businesses, they cling to these misperceptions or myths. We're too small to be a target, or we have cyber insurance. We don't need to worry, or if something happens, it's on my IT guy or my IT service provider. These are all what I refer to as 1995 level thinking. I always tell people it's 2021. Either you wake up or you're going to get hit hard and you're going to regret it.
Well, could you have prevented a cyber attack when Raquel almost made me fall down that cliff? And could you have jumped in and, like when you said I wasn't prepared, but as people don't know, Raquel is the reason why I rolled down a hillside, walked up 30 foot off a cliff onto rocks. Could you have prevented that because she sent me a text? I could have had like a cyber text.
But can we mention the fact that he sent me one first with a YouTube video? Okay, so yeah.
She sent me the song "How You Remind Me," and there I go over the hill.
And you go over the hill. So now every time I hear Nickelback, I think of him. The other day, a Nickelback song came on my iPhone, and I had to call him. I was like,
well, I love them that there's a Canadian connection there, because Nickelback is a Canadian band. So
wow. Isn't there a love-hate relationship with Nickelback and with all you Canadians? I feel.
Oh yeah, I can't stand them. I think they're a bunch of losers.
Canadians do not respond well to Nickelback.
I will never forget Raquel the rest of my life because she's made me what I am today. Everybody's like, wow, he's going off key. I'm like, well, that's Raquel's fault. That's Raquel's fault.
I had to be unforgettable some way.
Yes, that's.
And then when I called her, I think it took 2 days or a day or two. I was like, thanks you. And you know what, Dominic, real quick.
You called me the night it happened.
The real quick, I'm going to send it both to you. The whole thing about it is, Raquel, is it was I must have hit record on my cell phone. It captured the whole thing.
I don't think you ever told me that.
I'll play it for you and send it to you. It shows me literally screaming, and then you see my hand reach out to the phone, but it was all recorded. So maybe you had something to do with that in the cyber world. I don't know.
It's a good thing you didn't yell my name, because then there's that real incriminating evidence.
Yeah. I got a great question now for Dominic. What does this mean that you're a comedian also?
I know. I wanted to hear the comedian.
I got to hear this because it's a comedian. If you answered yes to the above, let's see. If you were interested in booking an entertaining and educational cybersecurity, what do you do for entertainment?
Well, growing up, well, that's why I have my lovely collection of toys here. Growing up, I had two, or especially in my high school years, I had two passions: cybersecurity and comedy. And I didn't go down the comedy route because I just didn't feel like playing in sleazy clubs. So I eventually came to realize that I could fuse two passions. You don't have to have your passions independent. And so by fusing it, I took, like I said, my two passions, and especially something like cybersecurity. And again, I'm not sure how many cybersecurity people you've ever heard speak, but many of them are incredibly boring. They have the personality of a boiled potato, and they speak in very, very tech talk. So I love being able to bring very high energy and, if nothing else, self-deprecating humor to a talk when I'm engaging and talking about cybersecurity. It's part of from a personal branding perspective in terms of standing out. I want our clients to not see us as security people. I want them to see us as fun-loving, hilarious people who are amazing business advisors who happen to know cybersecurity.
No, I love it, because my son he's at Virginia Tech. It's his second year, and he got into the business information technology program. So his track is cybersecurity. And so that's what he wants to go into. But the kid he's such a smart ass. He's like, he's got a great personality, all of that. So I love that, because I feel like he's going to bring an element, different element too. Like, yeah, they shouldn't all be
No, exactly. And the thing I love about the field too is that where I am in my career now is that I love mentoring new students and people who are entering the field. Yeah. So your son ever wants to chat with someone who's been around the block a few times, feel free to connect me with him.
Yeah,
I'm always happy.
On LinkedIn, I did a post like kind of commenting that he was on it, and he was mortified because he had to turn off all the notifications right away, and then he's like, "Mom." But he's on it because of his fraternity, which is smart. They're young and they need to start starting to network. And, but yeah, I'll have to, when he's ready to kind of start reaching out. It's just hard because he just, I'm his mom.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, I will say you're easy to talk to, because when I printed out these 10 trees, I was looking at it.
Bring on some boring cybersecurity.
Well, Raquel said, he's a nice guy. Get him on everything. But when you weren't on here, and I always print out 10 pages, and I'm looking, how do I even talk to this guy? I'm like, I don't even understand one freaking word on here.
Yeah.
It was like cyber, and I think of WebRoot.
Friends with him, you can too, David. Believe me.
Yeah, well, he's right, because he makes himself it differentiates. Like you're easy to talk to, and you break it down. Because a lot of small businesses, let me tell you, they don't know. I didn't know, But it makes sense. Now I'm going to tell you a story. Now, you know who my help desk is? 24 hours a day, 5 things on my 5 computers, whatever, TV, the Geek Squad.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unlimited for the whole year. You just pay one thing. And I called them one time. I swear to God, I wasn't making this up. I think they thought I was. I was changing. No, I went on a website, and then this freaking like a skull came up, like an alien.
Oh, no, a virus.
It was like an alien thing, and then it went back off. So then I called them, and they said they didn't understand what I was saying. But I'm like, what the hell was that? I said to my son, I said, did you see that? And he's like, he didn't see it. I said, uh-oh, I must be thinking him. But I didn't know what are the signs to look for. if you're in a small business? What would happen?
Well, yeah, and one of the most prevalent threats right now facing small business, and Raquel was the one who brought it up, is ransomware. That is the number one threat facing small businesses, and you'll know your systems are locked out. It'll basically bright red or flashing screen saying you have to pay X amount via virtual currency, like Bitcoin.
A movie scene, right? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, no, you'll definitely know. It's not like something hidden or lurking. It's like I said, especially for a small business right now, ransomware is that most prevalent threat. And I always say, if you were just talking about doing some basics, make sure that your computers have at least some basic security software installed, like WebRoot, which you mentioned there, David. But equally important, make sure that the most important data that you need to be able to access, that it's recoverable somewhere, and it's not somewhere that the ransomware can access. Often what I refer to as an offline copy, right? So you're whether that be somewhere in the cloud, like Dropbox, or whether that be a hard drive, which you back up to once a week, and then you remove it and make sure it's not continuously connected. There's obviously different options depending on how big you are as a small organization, but that's why I focus on the concept of resilience. So many people just focus on prevention. The other real world analogy, which I will give you, is that when we're talking about resilience, especially in something like cybersecurity, the example I give is being resilient in the face of something like cancer. You can't just focus to be truly resilient against cancer, you can't just focus 100% on prevention. Prevention can and sometimes does fail. To be truly resilient, you need to have prevention, you need to have early detection, and you need to have rapid response. That's how you're resilient against cancer. That's how you're resilient against cyber threats.
So let me ask you this specific question, because you mentioned, so the cloud, because I think a lot of people think the cloud, that's where it's dangerous, right? So are you saying that we should be uploading our stuff? Because I'm that person that I don't have enough iCloud storage on my phone, for instance, or on my computer, and I haven't upgraded. Should I be upgrading it and having that stuff on the cloud?
Well, and this is again sort of the balance point between, if you are a solopreneur versus a 10-person company versus a 20-person company or 100-person company. So security morphs and changes. I always like to say security is not an absolute. It changes as your company grows and changes as well. So to me, it's really, again, going back to that question of what is that most critical data. If something happens to the system or computer that you use, are you able to recover it from somewhere else, whether that be Google Cloud, your iCloud? Just the important thing is to at least identify what that data is and know where it is at all times.
Okay, I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'm gonna have to do some little investigation, because I'll be honest, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have a CRM. I don't have I'm not dealing with sensitive, information, because I really my clients, they just email me back and forth type thing. So, but I still want to be protected. So I need to figure out what that means, being protected, and take it seriously. Because I think that's, like you said, a lot of us just don't take it seriously. I'm thinking who's going to want to attack me? I really don't. But then again, it really is information that I don't want out there, or someone stealing it from me. So no, this is good, because I think people really do need to wake up. Like you said, this is 2021.
Is it all about the money? Is it just mainly about the money, Dominic?
Yes, it really is. Like I said, we're dealing with professionals now. It's what I refer to as the professionalization of cybercrime. It's a lot of people think, I'm not worried about some pissed off teenager wearing a hoodie in his mother's basement. And I would say, great, you shouldn't be. Again, that's what Hollywood still makes us believe, that we're up against these pissed off teenagers. They are there, but they're not the threats you should be worried about. They're
working for people that have them. You know what I mean?
They could be.
Size,
Absolutely. But we're like I would say, we're up against professionals, and if you take an amateur approach to how you're defending your organization and defending your data, it's like bringing a spoon to a gunfight. You're going to lose 10 times out of 10.
So what do you tell candidates, clients, that could be devastating for a small business? Upset and about money. So if you don't pay that money, there's nothing companies can do, or you just have to pay the money or not?
Well, it really depends, David, because there's so many different what's referred to as strains of ransomware, just like the coronavirus, or different strains of that virus. So it does depend on how easy it is to try and recover that data. So it's basically a process in which we say, okay, do you have existing data backups that we can recover? more often than not with small businesses, they don't. It's like, okay, let's see if we can crack the ransomware. Let's see if we can recover stuff. We recover what we can. That's like, okay, well, to recover what we haven't recovered, you either manually recreate that, or you're gonna have to pay the ransom or negotiate a ransom settlement. That's pretty much the workflow.
I can't even imagine that. I mean, if I lost, and you got me thinking, because if I lost this computer with all some of the tracking systems I have, I got to look into that. Wow.
No hackers are listening to
that. No, because Alexa, don't ever look. I have Alexa. Oh, sorry, Alexa. I have Alexa right here. Oof. Man. That is amazing. And what kind of industries do you see? An industry like a certain type that
that's a good
people
question.
go after, or is it, it like you say, ma pa, but is it what industry? I'm just going to say.
I'd say it's very industry agnostic right now. In fact, there's a story just that came out the other day about a trucking company that got hit by a ransomware that ended up costing them $7.5 million. So it doesn't matter if it's logistics, manufacturing, public sector, private sector. Back to what I mentioned about tacos earlier. If you use computer systems for your organization, you are a target.
So let me ask you this, because obviously it's about the money, but at the same time, I would think, what do they do with that information? Do they actually use the information to go and attack those people that are as your client? Because, just like you hear when those big companies that got hacked in, like a Visa or all those people, like, do we have to worry as a client, or is it we're kind of like, no, because they just wanted the money?
Yeah, well, again, it's sort of contextual on what type of organization gets hit, and there's two sort of areas of data. So there's the confidentiality of the data, or there's the availability of the data. So as an example, like with a trucking company, they don't really have much in the way of confidential data. But what was really important was the availability of the data and of those systems. Right? They were willing to pay a ransom because they could not access those systems. In regulated spaces like healthcare or financial sector, where there is more sensitive information, ransomware often affects the confidentiality of that data, or what's referred to as extortionware. They will try and extort money by basically saying, we will release this data out into the open unless you pay a ransom. So it does depend contextually on the type of data, right? But regardless, that's why, like I said, regardless, it doesn't matter what industry you're in right now, because it's either the confidentiality or the availability of that data, which is super important, and that affects pretty much every organization.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when, like, just say, how everybody's working from home now? You've gotten everybody out of the office. In my industry, staffing, let's just say all recruiters are at home now. They're using their own laptops, their own computers, because a company hasn't given them the proper, another computer of their own. Does that open up too, versus if they were in the office, I guess what I'm trying to say, but utilizing their own computer?
Yeah, and again, it does contextually again depend. I'd say right now, especially during lockdown and the coronavirus, that people are super distracted. They're doing a million things. It's created the perfect psychological storm for cybercrime to be very successful. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of. It's not necessarily the working from home stuff, which is adding to the complexity. It is, but that's more technical. I don't want to get into those weeds. I'd say there's the psychological component right now, which is at play that people need to be more cognizant and aware of.
Well, Raquel told me it's only $19.99 for you. She said we can both get it from you, since we were talking to you. You were going to give us for $19.99.
I didn't say.
Yeah, you said you were going to give us service for night, and then you were going to throw in an extra one for free. Just pay shipping and handling.
Bob, pencil in there. If you sign up, the first 100 people get a SpongeBob.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to explain. What are all the stuffed animals behind you? Is that your son or yours?
Those I keep those in here for when he comes in here to keep him distracted, and I feel he
and SpongeBob.
There's SpongeBob. There's Buzz. There's Forky. There's some other stuff there, but he's been super quiet. And I feel like I'm just walking on eggshells, like he's going to explode right now. So maybe we should wrap up while we're ahead.
I'm a calming force with kids.
I'll tell you, yeah.
But yeah, well, we don't need to see the explosion.
No, and it's great. I'll tell you what. I learned a lot, and I want to thank you.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna, Dominic, if you don't mind, I'm gonna reach out and get some advice on maybe.
Of course.
For sure.
Of course.
If anybody watching, you want to, Dominic, tell them about where yourself. We'll put it on the thread, but is there a way people reach you? I mean, I saw a text number.
Yeah, best way to reach me is either LinkedIn or on the company page, cyber.sc. Please feel free to reach out anytime. And David, Raquel, you guys are friends, so you reach out. I'm always happy to give you guys some free advice.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, you guys, we're ready for him to go be a daddy.
Yeah. So no, I want to thank you so much for your time. Oh, geez, look at that.
Oh, it's your bear. Don't worry.
It's time, right? All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to end with a video here, and we will be talking to you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, David.